After teaching English in Germany for more than a decade, and after learning both German and French to a very high level, I've noticed the biggest mistake language learners make. And unfortunately, a lot of people make this mistake. And the mistake is to treat language like every other subject at school. Really, this is the main mistake behind all the other usual problems I'd like to quickly talk about today. In fact, every mistake on this list comes from the same belief that there must be a shortcut. So sit back, relax, and make sure you're not doing any of these common mistakes I constantly see. To begin, it's important to point out that a lot of people who fail at learning a language or who label themselves bad at languages don't fail because of laziness. No, lack of effort is not the issue at all. No, these people often buy books, take classes, they study grammar, they even make flashcards, and yet years later, after all this effort, they still can't really speak the language. And why is that? Because, like I said, they're treating language like a school subject. And before somebody says, well, that's easy for you because you're talented at language, I've heard that argument for years and I don't really buy it. Because I'm not in any way special or talented at languages. And maybe you're confused now, and maybe you're asking yourself, wait, foreign language is a school subject, right? True, it is. And the way it's traditionally taught is exactly why so many people never really speak a second language. So, first big mistake in thinking, start with grammar. People think language is a system of rules, which it is, of course. But I think the problem is that people think they can shortcut the process. That is, if they know all the grammar rules, they can translate their thoughts from their mother language into the target language. And here begins the whole problem and the awkward way of speaking. First of all, in our native language, we learn grammar a long time after being exposed to it in all sorts of situations and subjects. In other words, we all have an intuitive feel for grammar before fine-tuning it. That is, grammar comes pretty late in the process. So why do we insist on starting there and focusing on it so much? Mistake 2. This is one I definitely made myself. Speaking too early. I get it. Really, I do. After all, many people learn a language because they want to speak it, to communicate with locals, etc. And it's certainly true that speaking is an entirely different skill set that needs to be trained. It's true that we need to speak a lot to develop these automatisms, as they call them, these short phrases we no longer even need to think about. Now, I'm not saying you should never speak. Of course you should speak. What I'm saying is that many learners put almost all their focus on speaking before they spent enough time listening. But these apps that promise speaking from day one? Well, as my favorite polyglot Steve Kaufman explains, how are you going to speak if you don't have any words? In other words, it's so important to listen to the language, reading subtitles while you listen to content you understand. But many people don't do this. Or maybe they try, but make another common mistake, which is mistake 3. Watching Netflix or other series too early. Just like wanting to speak too early, a lot of people want to be entertained in the target language too early. Watching Netflix series is like the final stage in acquiring a language. And so it's no wonder a lot of learners quickly stop trying. There's too much slang being spoken too fast and too many idiomatic phrases. It's kind of like deciding to learn basketball and making your first practice game against NBA players. Hell, even I have trouble understanding a lot of speakers when I watch Netflix in my mother language. Mistake 4. flashcards, and other hacks. Look, I'm not going to say that flashcards don't work. You can absolutely force the brain to remember things this way, and SRS, or spaced repetition systems, can do it in a scientifically proven way. But knowing vocabulary words and speaking are two different things. The main issue here is the mindset. We're trying to short circuit or shortcut a process that takes a long time. So we try to learn a few common phrases, we memorize sentences for certain situations, how to order at a restaurant, and special vocabulary at a restaurant, for example. But that's not really how we acquire a language. Again, notice the pattern here. Grammar is a shortcut. Flashcards are a shortcut. Memorized phrases are a shortcut. But it actually ends up taking longer, or we never actually learn the language at all. All because we're constantly trying to outsmart a process that simply takes time. And it might explain the somewhat infamous example of a senior Air France executive. He needed to learn French, and he certainly tried. He had hundreds of hours of private lessons, but after years, he still couldn't speak the language. And he actually needed to step down from his position. And I doubt it's because he was just bad at languages. His case is all too common in the traditional language classroom that prioritizes grammar studies and other class activities that feel productive in the moment, but don't really activate the language acquisition center in our brain. So, if treating language like a subject in school is wrong, what's the effective way to learn? It really is quite simple. The brain acquires language by understanding messages, not from analyzing language, not from trying to translate, not from memorizing language. The brain acquires language from understanding the content, the complete content and context in a given sentence, paragraph, or video. Obviously, there are tricks to finding the right content when we are beginners, but the principle is still the same. Find stories and short articles that interest you and try to understand the main message. Repeat this process daily, and inevitably you will get incredibly far in the language. Without even a single flashcard, language learning isn't complicated. It's just slow. I'm not gonna lie, it does take time, but here's the really great news. Learning a language is actually fun and enjoyable. The problem is that most people spend years trying to outsmart the process instead of just trusting it. Give your brain enough understandable English day after day, and it will do exactly what it evolved to do: acquire language. If you want to know more detail about this method, check out my video series, The 7 Keys to Learning English. And please like and subscribe. It helps other learners find this content.